Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on Bog Radio in association with 24 Flicks. We welcome in Radio QDX out of Lucama, North Carolina, and also courtesy of KCHF TV 11 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We bring you an actor to the show this morning, an actor who can be seen in the hit crime drama Vindication as Detective Gary Travis. He can also be seen in the summer hit of 2022, Running the Bases, Walker, Texas Ranger, and also Legacy Peak. You can see that on Pure Flix with Lucas Black, who was in Friday Night Lights and NCIS New Orleans. This actor's been in far too many more films to be named here, so we'll stop it there and bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Todd Terry. What's up, Todd? How are you?
Hey, Maurice. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Great to have you on the show. Vindication, which is a faith-based crime drama. And you guys have done 3 seasons now into season 4. Tell us how that's going.
It's going well. We've shot 4 episodes of our 4th season. We kind of did those as a standalone, not completely sure we're going to go on to an additional 4, which we are in the spring. But yeah, it's great. These first episodes deal with a totally different part of the Travis family's life. So you're going to see some new characters, some of the old. But as far as what Gary's doing at the time, as far as career wise, it's something a little different, yet something that's kind of intertwines with his past life. So I'll leave it at that and let the people that want to see it experience it. Hopefully it'll be out toward the end of the year. That's my hope.
I've been watching this from day one, and I've followed it almost religiously ever since. I love Vindication. And I was watching, I think it was season 3. And I was watching, it was deep into season 3. I think it was like episode 7. And there was a scene of Gary Travis, kind of like, the shot came from behind Gary. I think he was sitting in his study, and he was just kind of contemplating everything that had been going on in his life. And, it had this great mood music, and it was showing little quick clips of things that, happened, little crazy things here and there that were going on. And it was kind of the back of Gary as the camera panned. And I thought to myself, he's Superman. That's Superman. I thought it was such an awesome image, dude. And I mean, it reminds me of the Fortress of Solitude, because the part of Gary Travis is so heavy, carrying so much weight on him as a family man, as a detective, trying to do things right for the Lord now, and I just thought that particular scene was outstanding. And so I want to ask you, how does it feel, Todd, as Gary Travis? How does it feel to be the face of such a powerful faith-based crime drama like Vindication?
Well, it's a complete honor. I mean, this whole series came out of a short film, and never knew this would become what it is.
Yeah.
Jared O'Flaherty, the director, had a big vision. I honestly don't know if it happened as soon as we shot the short or if it was a while later where he made that decision. But I remember when he made the announcement to me, and then also to Venus, who played my partner in the season 1, was at a short film festival. Venus was there. I didn't know her. And I came to find out that she was going to be a part of the show, but she was a host at this particular festival. And it's just kind of been a roller coaster ride, that it keeps continuing. Now that we're in season 4, I just never would have expected it, but it's such a great honor. And it's great. It's an honor to play a character that, is not a, cardboard cutout, so to speak, that has some place to go as far as with his faith, not being a believer to becoming a believer to going into more sanctification as a believer. So it's a fun character to play in the midst of a drama series that deals with some heavier topics, in a non-gratuitous manner. So I'm very grateful to be a part of it.
I had a chance to interview your wife on the show, Peggy Schott, who plays uh, Miss Travis. I have to tell you, you guys are the perfect couple. I mean, on
Don't tell my
screen,
wife that. Don't tell my wife that.
on screen, you guys give a great image of a couple and a God-fearing couple. Although Gary came on a little bit later on, and how is it working opposite Peggy Schott?
She's a sweetheart. She's so great to work with. She's so committed to what she does, and so it's a pleasure when you get to, because acting for me is kind of playing. You memorize your lines, you kind of think where a scene's going, and you get in there and you do it, and it's all based on the responses of the other person. And we have a history together just because we're going into season 4, but it's so great to be able to develop that relationship with somebody who is not only a great actress, but also a kind person. So she's been a pleasure to work with.
I had a favorite scene, also not necessarily a scene, but an episode in season 1. And I think it was episode 5 in season 1. And you were dealing with a challenging relationship with your daughter that ended with a coin flip, which I thought was pretty amazing. And the whole episode I thought was pretty amazing, but it didn't solve the issue between you and your daughter, but it was a powerful message that was sent. What was your mindset in preparing for this particular episode?
God, it's hard for me to go back and think of specifically when you said coin flip. I know what you're talking about. As far as preparation, I can't say. If memory serves, that was about a coin that I had that was given to me from a family member that was very special to me. So that moment was really about, I think, Gary releasing something that had significance to his daughter, that his relationship was really struggling, and it was giving up that thing to her. So, it was kind of the beginning of Gary giving up part of his life that led to him becoming a believer. And part of that is trying to repair that relationship with his daughter, which, as you say, is not dealt with specifically just then, but it's a baby step, and it starts that mending.
It was the beginning of the mending for sure. I want to give those fans out there that have never seen Vindication, don't know what it's about. We got a lot of Christian believers out there that need to know about Vindication. And if you've never seen it or heard about it, we're going to play the trailer right now for season 3, Vindication, created by director Jared O'Flaherty.
What we're about to share with you, you cannot tell anyone. Not your best friend, not your priest, not your dog, not your wife. Nobody can know right now.
Yeah, I understand.
Single gunshot wound, close range. They recovered a 9mm hollow point round from the chest cavity.
Right now, all the evidence points to one place.
This is a manhunt. Suspect be considered armed and dangerous.
He isn't guilty of anything.
Something's going on.
I was wondering why they ain't came and got me yet.
Someone is out to get your husband. I don't know why. Maybe you do.
Who did you meet with today?
We don't have enough on Tomlinson. He's always one step out of reach.
What's the plan? It's in the valleys where we grow the most, not the mountaintops.
What do you do with that knowledge? What does it change?
Things will last forever. That's what matters most.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Season 3, ladies and gentlemen, can be seen on Redeem TV, Amazon Prime, and also PureFlix. So if you haven't seen it, first of all, get a subscription to PureFlix or Redeem TV, or you can buy it the whole season on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
And as well as seasons 1, 2, and 3 get started. I mean, we're in the season of life in America, where it's all about binge watching. Come on, people. Anyway, so now I love it. Todd, I was watching TC Stallings there. What's it like playing with TC, who came on in season 2? Tremendous actor.
Yeah, no, I love TC. He's great to work with. TC, like, he's an athlete by nature, but
Yeah.
I feel like he's very active in, his approach to acting, if there's not a better word for it, but he likes to try things out and goes, does this feel good? And he and I seem to work well together in that, making sure it feels right, what we're doing. Because sometimes, there's not a lot of improvisation as far as words go. Jared lets us do some things, but shaping the scene and the tone of the scene, Jared does let us do some of that. So TC's great with that.
He's really a good actor. You guys play off of each other very well. I was thinking about your good buddy Steve Mokate, who's a bad guy in this. And I talked with Peggy, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, and Jared kind of gave the green light to kind of talk about what's happened up, to season 3 as far as what we've seen. It's out there now. And Steve Mokate's the bad guy, who started out as Sergeant Bill Tomlinson, and he became this bad dude. And he's kind of created a Dr. Doob kind of aura about himself. It's like, when are they going to get this guy? But that being said, Steve's a great guy, but what's it like working with Steve Mokate?
Well, it's typecasting, because that's how he is in real life. He's just mean and evil. No, he's a friend of mine, and we trash talk each other over text constantly. In fact, I could read you some of his texts to me. They're clean, but they're just, he's trash talking me.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy, great actor. Yeah, he does. He just has this menacingness about him that really works for this character. Not in real life, but just how he portrays it. So he does a great job, and it's nice to have somebody who's the antagonist to the protagonist. They're strong opposites, and that really helps.
Well, the thing about the way that Steve plays this character is very interesting, because he's a lighthearted guy. He likes to kid around and all that. He's really a lighthearted guy, but the way that he plays the bad guy is very cool, because he's not menacing, what I mean, or anything like that. But he comes off, he plays it with a slight wink, which kind of gives you an idea of what he's like in real life. I had a chance to be a part of episode 6. Don't blink, you may miss me, but I had a chance to be a part of episode 6, and I had a chance to really do a lot of talking with Steve, and I practiced with him before he did this scene with TC. And he's just the kind of guy. Jared says, well, we have to do a lot of takes with Steve, because he loves to improvise. And it plays very well. I mean, I guess you have to end up doing a lot of takes, but when you go with the take that works, it's beautiful. It's perfect. Yeah.
That's the fun thing about this job, is just being able to, play around and improvise when you can. Sometimes, you got to stick with certain aspects of the script, but it's a blast.
It was a lot of fun being a part of that. Jared O'Flaherty, who's the creator of Vindication, also, Todd, and I think you briefly alluded to this earlier in the interview, but he's not afraid to tackle cutting edge subject matter.
Yeah.
And I think one of those was in season 1, episode 2, which involved teenage sexting. That episode was actually told to me by Jared, was rejected at a few Christian film festivals because of a scene in that episode, which I thought was handled very well. I didn't see a problem with it at all. I mean, if I want a problem, I'll go to Netflix. Anyway, that being said, I didn't see anything wrong with it. Do you think faith-based programming, whether film or TV, Todd, needs to be willing to deal with cutting-edge matters more often?
Yeah, I think it's important to deal with those things that are definitely topical, that are struggles for society, for believers in general.
Yeah.
Like for instance, pornography is a huge issue in society, and it is a huge issue in the Christian community as well.
Yes.
It
Yes, it
doesn't
is.
escape anyone. And it's like things like that, sex trafficking, all those things, I think are really important to deal with. And but you do have to try to deal with them in I think, a non-gratuitous manner. Now that line is different for everybody. I was chatting with somebody on Facebook the other day about something in respect of the show, and for him, he felt it was a little too much. I did well. I can't say because I don't remember the very specific thing he was talking about, but the show as a whole, everything I've seen is like I, I don't feel like it crosses the line in a way that is gratuitous. So, but it does deal with those subjects with which you have to. And if you look at the Bible, there's some very heavy stuff in the Bible that is for our reading. It's not put obviously visually, but there's things we got to deal with.
Well, and I think that's exactly what Jared is willing to do, and he does it like a gentleman. I mean, it's never too much. It's not over the line. He gets close to the line because there are some serious issues out there in life that I think Christians should be willing to tackle. But you have the Spirit of Christ. You know how to do that. You know how to convey that. There are things that Hollywood loves to show where it's like, we really didn't need that. I mean, we get it. We already got the image of what's happening without you showing me. Let's stick to what the subject matter is trying to bring out or present to the audience.
Yeah.
And that's what Vindication does.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate other people's opinions on it, even when it comes regarding Vindication and what they see, because everyone's going to have a little different opinion. And you just, as a director, a producer, an actor, you make a choice, and some people may not agree with it. But, I feel that as a whole, it's Vindication does a really good job of keeping it clean, yet dealing with the issues.
Do you think that faith-based programming is just simply afraid to push the envelope and deal with hard issues and prefers to play it safe simply because maybe they don't want to go too far with it and they're just a little bit afraid?
I mean, that's hard to say because every project's different, and every project answers to different people, in a sense, producers, and everybody has a specific opinion. So it's hard for me to say. I want to respect everybody's view, because I'm not saying that someone who puts something forth that's super squeaky clean and may hit some topical things, but not in a way that really engages the viewer. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that I just feel like because there's so many alternatives out there to watch that are so gratuitous and do deal with a lot of heavy subjects, it's good to have shows that deal with them in not that way, if that makes sense. Well, but no, I don't want to speak bad on any Christian, production based on them fearing something, because everybody's got their own conscience and, their own, listening to the Holy Spirit, what the Holy Spirit says. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on Bog Radio in association with 24 Flicks, talking with actor Todd Terry. Also want to welcome Radio QDX out of Lucama, North Carolina. Tell us about the journey, Todd, of how Vindication actually became a series as it began as a standalone film.
Well, I touched on it a little bit in the beginning. It started as a short film with Ben Davies, myself, a cast. And I names are not in front of me right now, and I apologize. But so we did that as a standalone short film. It went to some festivals, won some awards, and it was at one particular festival that Jared came up and said, I want to turn this into a series, and would you be interested? And I said, yeah. I mean, who's going to turn that down?
Yeah.
And that's where I met Venus, and Venus became my partner in season 1, and Peggy came on pretty quickly as well. And it just kind of started, but yeah, it all started from a short film and became what it is today.
And how did you land the role of Gary Travis?
I actually was at a Christian Media Arts or Association meeting, and I was speaking on a movie I did called Beyond the Farthest Star. And Jared was there, and he came up afterwards and said, "I'm doing a short film. Would you be interested in playing the detective?" And I said, "Yeah." that's it. I mean, there wasn't a specific audition that I remember for it. It was just we did it, and then it became what it is today.
So you had an opportunity to do a film called Legacy Peak, which can be seen on Pure Flix, and that was done with Lucas Black. I want to play the trailer for that and then come back and talk about that film a little bit.
You ready for an adventure?
Mom said no adventures allowed.
When you catch up with me and the kids at the cabin, they're going to beg you to say yes.
What about my dad?
He'll gruffly admit that I'll make a fine son-in-law.
Here's your chance to win his approval.
All right, guys, this is going to be super fun. Plenty of time to get to know each other. Co-pilot Ben, we ready?
Aye, aye, Captain.
Passenger Sam.
More like hostage.
That's Legacy Peak there. We're more than halfway to the cabin. First strike. Hold on, kids. Thank you, Jesus.
Can you fix it?
Hey!
This is more or less what I expected when I got on the plane.
What are we gonna do?
Cabin's probably a 3-day hike from here. Sam, I'm doing my best here.
You're not even reaching competent babysitter levels.
Father, I need your help. I tried to plan the perfect trip. I wanted to give these kids something I never had.
I'm going a little ways down the river.
Where's Ben?
Ben, we're coming, pal! Ben! Looks like you come through these trees.
This way. Oh my God. Time to get up.
First, let's start off with a prayer. Most loving Father, help us find our way, look for anything useful.
Jason, whoa!
You kids have got to run. Father stands in the gap. Kids on one side, wolves on the other. He says, whatever comes, nothing gets to those kids. You'll be family, kid.
My wife and I had a chance to watch Legacy Peak a couple of weeks ago, and that film, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you can get on Pure Flix as well. But Lucas Black is, the first time I saw Lucas Black was in Friday Night Lights, and he was a kid, basically. I guess he was probably, I don't know if he was 18 or 21. He was a young kid, but he really, Friday Night Lights is one of the best football movies I've ever seen. And that's kind of where he came onto the scene, Lucas Black. He's, like I said, I mentioned earlier in the open, he's also an NCIS New Orleans. He's done a lot of other stuff in Hollywood, but he's a born-again Christian. He's a Christian man and got a heart of gold. I love that guy. What's it like working with Lucas Black?
Well, I mean, I don't know him super well other than working with him, but he was a really nice guy. I on his Instagram feed, or I follow him, and I just love his Instagram videos. He seems to me like such a great dad and a teacher. On set, he was just super kind. We talked a little bit about hunting. He's an avid hunter, but just a really nice guy. See, I remember him from even earlier than that. I think he was a kid in some Western stuff because his dialect is so specific.
Yeah.
I think he's from Alabama. I can't remember for sure, but when you hear him, it's like, oh yeah, I know that. I know who that is. But yeah, really sweet. Everyone on that set was great to work with. It was just a really fun experience shooting in the mountains in Estes Park, Colorado. Just a great time.
That is a very good film. That's an excellent film.
Yeah, I loved it.
And by the way, who produced that film, Todd?
Well, Aaron Burns directed it. So, I mean, on the producing side, beyond that, Matt, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong because it's a Greek last name, Michalotis. I apologize, but he was the writer, and but Aaron was the director, and yeah, I got that from an audition with him, and I had worked with him he was a producer on Washington's Armor.
And so you think about Legacy Peak and how good that film was. By the way, my wife absolutely loved Legacy Peak. That was from beginning to end. And it's a great film because you're out in nature. I mean, it seemed as though most of that film took place outdoors, the filming of it. Like you guys were out there in the rough, literally.
Yeah, it was cold, but it was fun.
That film was just kind of fun. You felt as a viewer like you were on the adventure as well.
Yeah.
And
no, I was going to say those two kids were just great too. They were a lot of fun to work with, and they fed well off each other as actors. So it was just a great experience overall. And then we all stayed at a big old, it was like a YMCA in Colorado in Estes Park, and everybody had their own rooms and whatnot. But
yeah,
it was a great experience.
Folks, I highly recommend that you go out, and if you want to see a really good family-friendly movie that's pertinent to the holiday season, you got to see Legacy Peak. Yeah. Great film. Matter of fact, you ought to watch it on Christmas night with some marshmallows. So you are also in the summer hit Running the Bases in 2022. And that was with Brett Varvel, Gigi Orsillo, Cameron Arnett, Gary Nation, and Michael J. Patterson, all common friends of ours. Do you think that Christians in America may very well end up, because what the theme of the film left you with the idea that if we're not watching what's the tone and tenor of our society, Christians could end up, becoming incarcerated for their faith.
Well, what's funny is that right when that movie was coming out, there was that whole, and I don't know his first name, it was a Coach Kennedy, and there was that Supreme Court decision that was happening based on him praying in relation to, I don't remember if it was football or what sport it was, but that came out just at the same time.
Okay.
Because there was, somebody had an issue with that. So yeah, that's absolutely could happen, and it has happened to some sense. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed making that movie. Went to Arkansas and filmed it with all those guys. I can't remember how many of them I'd actually worked with before, but I've become friends and kind of associates in some way because I've gotten to work with Brett again on a film he did called Disciples in the Moonlight that's coming out hopefully in this next year.
Okay.
And Michael Patterson worked on that. I don't know if Cameron did, but I've worked with Cameron a lot on Vindication. And so it's such a great cast and crew, and Gigi's awesome, obviously. So.
Yeah, I thought the film was rather timely. And to your point, I mean, we've already, as Christians, members of the Christian community, have suffered somewhat similar fates. It's been spread out. I mean, it's sparse and far and few in between, but it has happened. But when you really think about what's happening around the world, where we're talking about real persecution for your faith, that's a whole other level. And it's very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what's happening today, in Israel is just, it's horrifying, but, we kind of knew it was coming, based on what the Bible says. So, continue to pray for all those people, because, it's not that it's going to get better anytime soon, but, in the midst of the storm, we know we have a rock, and that's Jesus Christ.
Well, that's for sure. And I just think that America is in a position right now, the members of the Christian community should be, I don't want to use the word weary, Todd, because as you accurately stated, we have the rock, Jesus Christ. So he's going to be with us no matter what happens. I think the reality of it becoming more intense because of our faith may be around the corner. I don't know, but it's kind of scary. And the film, it doesn't necessarily stamp it as this is the reason we're putting you in jail, but that was the reason they put him in jail.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it just kind of, and you know, took a stand. You know, we may all be asked to take a stand in our society one day soon, based on the way things are going. And you have to ask yourself that question sometimes as a Christian. Man, am I built that tough? Am I really? Because you wonder. I mean, we say it all the time. Oh yeah, I'll do this, that, and that. But I mean, when the rubber meets the road, man, you know, that's a different deal. And the character stepped right up.
Yeah.
And you had to applaud him.
Yeah, it's easy to talk a good talk, but yeah, when it comes down to it, you know, you hope you will stand up in those situations. Absolutely. You know, it's along these same lines. Brett Varvel, his movie that he's doing is topical in that way too, on something that's kind of dystopian that, you know, could happen in the future. So I can't wait for that to come out, because it's another along those lines of something that could happen, you know, and how would people respond in that situation?
100%. But away from that, regarding the film, you had a jaded relationship with your son in the film, and it was played by Justin Sterner, who's a rather he's a very good actor. I mean, he's also funny.
Yeah,
Justin Sterner. What was it like working with Justin?
It was great. You know, I initially, when I showed up on set, I met him the first day, and I wasn't working for several days after that. And we got to talk. He's such a kind person, you know, first of all, and willing to listen. And that was my first experience with him, because at that time there was an issue going on back at home that I was having to deal with that came out of nowhere. And Justin was just a great ear, because his age range helped me to kind of get a bigger picture of what I was talking to him about. So that established a bit of a relationship. My character and him in the show are polar opposite. You know, I'm a father that has not been there for him, and who's been, you know, just kind of stuck in the past with the death of his wife. But he's great to work with, and so funny guy.
Yes, he's got a great reputation as an actor. And Justin, it was kind of cool seeing you play a completely different kind of guy that most of us are used to seeing Todd Terry portray. But you nailed it. But at the end of the day, you know, it was a great film. Running the Bases was another hit, faith-based summer hit, which was in 2022, like I said, with Brett Varvel and Cameron Arnett. But you've been in so many things, Todd. I mean, you've been in a lot of, and it seems like things are ramping up for you. Like your services are being requested more and more, and it's a pleasure seeing you on screen. You've got a lot of acting experience, Todd, and I want to ask you what is the biggest thing? What is the biggest thing that you've learned after all this time you've been acting, all the experiences you've had? There may have been a mentor that has shared something with you that changed the game for you, whether it was a scene or another actor that shared something with you. I know as a stand-up comedian, I've had all kinds of experiences with crowds and situations, dishes falling, and all kinds of. What is it about acting during your time in the business that has made you better at what you do?
You know, I think bottom line, one of the first things that came to mind was don't give up, you know, and that's with any career. If you want to do something, it's going to be hard. Everything has some tough times to it, some valleys and some mountaintops, but if you love it enough, you just keep pushing through. And I've always loved to do it. It's play for me. You know, early on it was therapy. You know, I was able to get stuff out emotionally that I felt like I was trapped with. But don't give up would be the first thing. And then what I've really learned as an actor is less is more. Learning to be really simple when communicating, learning to listen. I think that's the biggest thing any actor who wants to be an actor who's new, I would say, learn to really listen. We have a tendency to get a script and look at our lines and go, oh, I'm going to do it this way and this way. But when you get to the day, it's really about playing with somebody else and really reacting to somebody else. And so, what I've learned is you do know your lines, but you got to really listen to the other one, because that's what, other person, that's what informs how you speak. And it makes it much more engaging.
It's funny when you say you just look at your script, your lines in the script. Funny story I had, a couple of years ago, I won the role of the mayor giving a speech at a police banquet. And when the script came in, my wife and I, we immediately went to my lines. We didn't read the script. So I get to the table read, and, my gosh, I mean, 2 scenes in that film were pornographic, basically.
Cool.
And I went, oh my gosh, what have I done? And during the break, I met a fellow Christian comedian who was playing the role of a coach in the film. And we looked at each other. We were like, dude, what have we done here? And turned out, because we signed to be in the film, I said, God, you got to get me out of this. And sure enough, the project folded.
Oh, wow.
And thank God. Again, I was just doing the speech at a banquet. That's a honorable thing to do. And then he's the coach of a little league baseball team. It's amazing. You've got, and I'll just add to what you were saying about, preparation and scripts and so forth. I mean, you got to make sure that you take a good look at that thing. I mean, in totality, what's going on here,
Yep.
And, if you're a faith-based actor, and I don't have a problem doing secular, a secular film or performing in a secular room, I'm still going to be clean. I'm not going to use profanity. But what is the message here? What's being conveyed here? I mean, is this just foolishness for the sake of being foolishness? And, and verbiage too, as well. I mean, if we're getting carried away with verbiage, you don't want to be a part of that either. But that being said, I thought it's kind of funny in retrospect because God got me out of it, Todd. But you got to pay attention. You just got to pay attention to this stuff, especially if you want to do things the right way. What about nerves, though, Todd? When you're doing a scene, how do you deal with butterflies and nervousness before doing a scene?
Well, normally, like if it's a group of people I've worked with before, there's not really any great nerves. I mean, there's nervousness about seeing how things are going to come across, but it's really on sets that I don't know anybody. Maybe I'm going to a different state, never met anybody, and that initial nervousness, you just kind of got to jump in there and do it, and then it goes away. That's at least been my experience. But yeah, there's always a little bit of nervousness right before you begin, but then it goes away, and then you're there to really listen and play.
You mentioned Washington's Armor. Correct me if I'm wrong on the title of this program. How can fans see it? Because I think you said the producer of Washington's Armor also produced Legacy Peak.
Yeah, but you're asking the wrong person. I don't know what platform it's on, to be honest with you. I know they had there were 3 sections of it they're going to film, and I think they've done the first. I don't know what platform it's on right now where you can get it. I wish I did, but I don't.
Okay. Excellent program. Well, I think is that a series, Todd?
Washington's Armor, I think it's supposed to be a 3-part series unless they've changed it.
Yes.
Based on I think the initial script was based upon a book called Bulletproof Washington. And they that's what they've turned it into, a 3-part series.
So, Todd, I mentioned that you're doing a lot of things here. I mean, every time I look up, Todd Terry's in something pretty cool. What is coming up on the horizon for Todd Terry?
Well, I start a show called Empty Nets in January with Nathan Blair and Leland Klassen and a bunch of other actors. I would say majority of them are probably Christian actors, but people that are in a bunch of different shows. That's a comedy set back in biblical times. And then I just finished a Western that hopefully will be out this year that we shot here in Texas. Other than that, Bird's Eye commercial, Bird's Eye Vegetables, that should be coming out in January or so. And Disciples in the Moonlight with Brett Barville, a movie called The Senior with Michael Chiklis, a movie called Unbreakable Boy with Zachary Levi. All those hopefully will be coming out this next year.
Michael Chiklis is a very intense actor.
Yeah, he is. He's a nice guy. I mean, I got a chance to talk to him a bunch on set just because I played the physical trainer in the film. And, the story is about a 50-year-old man, true story, who went back to college and played football. And it was here in Texas. And so it's that guy's story. But yeah, I haven't seen the film. I've heard it's really good, but it's a Rudy type story for, an older generation.
I think Robert Conrad played the role of an older gentleman and I don't even know if the storyline is the same, but he played the role of a guy that was like 55 that played quarterback in college, used his eligibility and played QB. That was done about 20 years ago. Robert Conrad, that was a long time ago. I didn't know if The Senior was along those lines or not. Or if you're even familiar with the film I'm referring to that starred Robert Conrad.
No, I don't know it. I highly doubt it's the same story, only because this is about a guy that is still living. He was on set.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old he is now, but he didn't look, I don't even want to say. To me, he didn't look any older than late 60s. So, but yeah, it's his story, and I think they wrote a book about it, and they turned it into a movie.
Michael Chiklis. I got to check that film out. Michael, the first time I saw him was on an episode of Seinfeld. I think that's when he was getting going there. And was in a film, a scene with Kramer, which was hilarious. But that being said, I digress. Looking at faith-based filmmaking right now, we talk about Legacy Peak. I mentioned the Irwin brothers and the Kendrick brothers. The leaders in faith-based, and there's some other really good ones. And then you look at The Chosen, which was built on, a GoFundMe program. And by gosh, they accumulated $10 million. And that is a great series, The Chosen. Matter of fact, I think they're going to have season 4 in theaters nationwide, from what I understand.
Coming up. I am in episode 1 of The Chosen season 4. So.
Oh, wow. Great, man. I love it. That is great. So in reference to faith-based filmmaking, do you see an uptick in funding for faith-based films?
Well, I'm not on the producer side of things, but I would say there's a lot more out there, So I would say probably yes, because there's a lot of opportunity for nicer projects, that seem to be coming out. They just shot one called, I think it's called Homestead or something like that in Utah recently. And I can't remember if it's a series or a film, to be honest with you, but that's something. And his name's escaping me right now. He's in a ton of Christian films. He's been around for a long time. Anyway, I'll think of it in a minute, but he's the lead in it. And Neil McDonough. Okay. Yeah, Neil McDonough is the lead in the film or series, whatever it is. It's based on a book. So I digress. But yes, I think there's a lot more people interested because they know there's a need for it, especially when there are some platforms that have kind of gone off the rails with what they're showing to the general public. And a lot of people don't want to see it.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I'm going to ask you one last question about Vindication. I want to go back to season 1 and episode 2. It involved your son, Austin. And I came away from that particular episode thinking nothing but good things about Austin's performance. I mean, he was really very convincing in that particular episode. Thought I might see him in some more episodes, but how is he doing in acting right now?
Well, he's not pursuing it. So because my wife and I have been actors for years, we kind of included the kids and stuff if they wanted to. So they became a part of our agency that's locally in Dallas.
Okay.
And so he would audition a lot. And then when that part came up, he auditioned and got it. Obviously, he's always been a really strong actor. He went on to do another show after that, but he's not doing anything now. I mean, he's working at our church, and he's on staff of the church as head of video production, basically. So that's kind of where he's at right now. He's also writing a script, which he's close to being finished on. My wife's writing a script. So everyone in the family is into the business in some way, but just different aspects.
I think there's something there with Austin. He was very good in that particular episode. I was talking with Jordan Elsass on a prior show, who actually was given an opportunity to audition for that role that Austin ended up playing, but Jordan was a little bit too young for the character that he was going to be working with. You know, it's just a little bit too young, and Austin stepped in there, and he did a great job. I would really like to see him in something down the road, because he was really good. He was really good.
Trust me, his mom and I are constantly talking to him about getting back into it. Yeah, we both feel the same way. I just would love him to do it. You know, of course, if he wants to do it, and I think he does, it's just he's really busy right now, and it's, you know, looking for the right opportunity.
Totally understand that. Totally understand that. He's young and got a lot of things to figure out. He'll hey, Todd, I have a strong feeling it'll come around, and you know, back to Austin, and he'll get back into it. It's just got too much talent.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what advice, as we get out of here, Todd, can you leave with young? And you've kind of alluded to it already, but I want to ask the question anyway. What kind of advice can you leave with young actors and actresses out there that actually want to make acting their livelihood, particularly in the faith-based world?
Well, I mean, the basics of the craft of acting, you know, although there's a bunch of different teachers and different methods and styles, all this kind of thing, but the basics are the basics. And so getting into a class would always be my first recommendation. You know, watch movies with an eye on, you know, what they're doing, different tones, genres, you know, and just to get a feel for it, and just study as much as you can. Then, you know, do some theater. You know, I came from the theater, and it's a great learning ground. And then at the end of the day, you know, there's a lot of theater conservatories out there. That's, in my opinion, some of the best training ground. You know, to transfer that to film and television is it's not rocket science. You know, you just bring the same internal stuff in a smaller way to, you know, a screen that's this big, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the best training, is just start training and meeting people. You know, that's the best advice I can give.
And in dealing with the rejections, because when you're auditioning, a lot of times a number of auditions will go by, and you've done all this preparation, and you know, you get the lighting set up and this, that, and the other, and you feel like you nailed it, and it doesn't happen, and you just go, man, what am I doing this for? But there's so many factors that go into this. Sometimes it's just that the guy that got the role looked like someone's cousin, or whatever.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, sometimes it's about matching family members within a show. If there's a family, you know, there's so many different aspects to it. You know, and I remember I used to get really disappointed, and now I think it just comes, your skin gets hardened a little bit. I go into every audition thinking I'm going to get it. That's just my mindset. I said,
Yeah.
I'm going to get it. So, and then you don't hear from most of them. And then you don't even get feedback from probably 99% of the things you audition for. But you just learn to live with that. And that's why it's important to be in a class, because so you can get feedback from other people to say, is what I'm putting forward in an audition enough to get somebody interested in me, even if it may, you know, just be the fact I'm not getting it because I don't look the part, you know. You just want to make sure you're bringing your A game as much as possible.
And Todd, how can fans, our audience members out there, follow you on social media or by website?
So the simplest is Instagram. It's Todd Terry Actor. That's 2 D's, TODDTERRY Actor. That's really the main place I post, and then it feeds to Facebook. Facebook, I'm there too. Todd Terry Actor as well. Yeah, I'm not the best at posting. My wife is so much better than I am, but I'm getting there. So I'm gonna try to be better this year. That'll be my New Year's resolution. So
It could be both, Todd, resolution and revolution.
be a revolution.
But Todd, thank you so much, man, for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Todd Terry on Bog Radio in association with 24 Flicks, also RadioQDX.com, out of Lucama, North Carolina, and KCHF TV in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You can listen to the Maurice Brown and watch it on KCHF TV every Saturday night at midnight, and then again at 8 p.m. That's going to be KCHF TV. And then also where all major podcasts are heard on Spotify. If you're coming in late and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed the interview. I'm coming in, Maurice, you're done. What? No, go to Spotify and you can watch this interview in its entirety. It won't be a problem at all. I want to let you guys know out there also that Todd Terry, who plays Detective Gary Travis in the faith-based hit Vindication, you can see this now on PureFlix, all 3 seasons on PureFlix, Redeem TV, and Amazon Prime. And as we speak, season 4 is under production of season 4 is underway. And I know, Todd, you can't say a whole lot about what's going on, but just for those that are coming in late and that are fans, let's say that we got some fans that have been following it, go, oh, wow, I didn't know there's season 4. So how's the filming going up to this point?
It's been great. We've shot the first 4 episodes. We're shooting the final 4 in the spring. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning, but the Travis family is on a different journey. And so you will see some of the same people from before, but then you'll see a lot of new people as well. But we're still keeping some of the, that intrigue that, you get in the other seasons. But it's a different journey for the Travis family.
It is a different journey for the Travis family. And I mentioned it earlier. I love the realness of Jared O'Flaherty. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. This is not cookie cutter stuff, but it's handled so well. And again, Todd, because Christians, you mentioned it earlier, are going through tough circumstances. And Jared meets it head on, and it's just handled beautifully. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to see it. Can't talk about it enough. I don't know if I mentioned ChristianCinema.com. I'm not sure if Vindication is on that platform as well or not. So folks, just go to ChristianCinema.com as well and check it. But the 3 platforms that I did give you, they're definitely there: PureFlix, Redeem TV, and Amazon Prime. Check it out. Talking with Todd Terry on the Maurice Brown Comedy Show. Todd, as always, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, sir.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for being on once again. And may the peace of Christ be with you and your lovely family. God bless you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.